Love, Death, and Rollerskates. Written by Spadillelicious. Read by Dragonfruit Flambe. Chapter 2. How Will I Know? Just as it always does, the lunch rush arrives. Hungry customers flock to the restaurant section of the establishment, filling up on pizza, burgers, and milkshakes before heading to their preferred entertainment section. Before long, both the arcade and roller rink are buzzing with guests. You hand out another pair of size 8 skates to the awaiting customer in front of you before sparing a glance at Sun. Said robot is currently helping a kid tie their roller skates correctly, merrily singing some old song used to teach kids to tie their shoelaces. You smile as the small boy thanks Sun, the two exchanging a high five before the kid heads to the rink with his friends. On the other side of the large room, you spot Moon returning from the direction of the restaurant, a sour look on his face and bright pink goo dripping from his mop. Must have been another strawberry milkshake-related accident, you assume. Clean up, clean up. As Moon pushes his cleaning cart past the rentals desk without sparing you a glance, you hear him mutter underneath his breath to himself. Must be a busy day for the poor guy, too. Holding up okay over here, friend? Sun suddenly pops into your field of vision, blocking you from seeing Moon disappear into the arcade further away. He places his hands on the counter, propping himself up excitedly as his rays spin. The long line in front of the rentals desk has finally dispersed now that the latest wave of customers have all been served. So thankfully he's not blocking anyone. Oh, yeah. It was a bit busy for a minute there, but it seems that we've passed the peak of the rush today. You answer while putting away a pair of returned skates in a shelf marked with the corresponding size. Then, how about I cover things over here, so you can head to the booth? The music is getting a little boring over there anyway. He assures, placing his hand on your shoulder and offering you a smile, beaming like his namesake. Really? Thanks! You spare no time, slipping out from the rentals desk and heading to the DJ booth overlooking the rink dance floor. It was your favorite of all the workstations in Party Planet, sporting an impressive collection of vinyls, cassettes, and CDs. Sun was well aware of the fact it was your favorite, and always seemed to make time for you to man it whenever the rentals desk wasn't too busy. Opening the door to the modest booth, you take a seat in one of the 2 swivel chairs inside of it. Enjoying a spin, you then wheel over to one of the shelves holding vinyls and flip through the albums. Which song should you start with? Glancing over at the rentals desk through the screen of the booth, you spot Sun tapping his fingers rhythmically against the wooden counter, impatiently waiting for customers to approach. When he catches you staring, his rays spin once around his head. Since nobody seems to be in need of assistance at the moment, he leaves the station and heads to the roller rink. You turn back to flipping through the collection in front of you once more. This time, you're sure of what you're looking for. When you lay your eyes on Whitney Houston's debut album, you carefully take the record out of the beautiful cover and place it onto the vinyl player. You eye Sun knowingly as he enters the roller rink to take a lap around it, acting as a floor guard. Pushing the stylus into place for the track you've decided on, you press play. As the initial tones of How Will I Know start playing, Sun perks up and turns towards the DJ booth as he skates past. I love this song! He exclaims to you, standing tall and extending his long arms outwards happily as he lets the momentum carry him. I know! You reply with a small laugh before turning back to the booth. You begin to fiddle with some cassettes where the tape has gotten slack, tightening them up with a pencil. Continuing with your task, your eyes drift to Sun as he rounds the track, now helping someone who's fallen back to their feet. Are you having a good time? He then asks some other patrons as he skates up to them, earning wide smiles and eager nods in response. When he sees the kid he helped with their skates, Sun slows down slightly and lets each kid in the friend group high-five him before continuing ahead, performing a spinning jump and landing backwards on one foot. You roll your eyes at the sight. Show off. As the cassette is fixed, tape tightened, and once again playable, you put it back in its place and pick up another. The action feels meditative, calming, satisfying, like cleaning a really dirty mirror and finally seeing the shiny surface underneath the grime. The DJ booth feels much more like home than the rentals desk. You're not like Sun. Dealing with customers doesn't come as easy to you. Issuing skates is fine, it follows a set script. But being a floor guard? More than just the lack of roller skating skills complicates the task for you. Maybe you envy Sun a little bit in that regard. On the dance floor, Sun carries on through the crowd, ensuring everyone is having fun before returning to his post at the rentals desk, where a line is starting to build up. And as the skaters realize the DJ booth is manned, a line for song requests begins to form at your station as well, and you note them all down with a smile. Hours later, guest numbers are starting to dwindle. When no customers have approached the rentals desk for a good 15 minutes, Sun joins you in the DJ booth, throwing himself into the second of the swivel chairs. The chair spins wildly for a bit, until it parallels yours and Sun brakes, using his arms against the desk, holding the music players. He imitates the sound of a tired sigh and props his elbows up on the desk, leaning his faceplate into it and turns to you, smiling widely as always. His windbreaker is opened, and with the way he leans forward in your direction, your eyes land on a dried red spot on his purple t-shirt hidden behind the thin jacket. How did you manage to get ketchup on you? You're never in the restaurant. You question casually, folding your hands behind your head and leaning back in your swivel chair. Sun seems taken aback by the question, giving you a confused look before following your gaze to the stain in question. Oh! No idea how that got there. He deflects with a short, nervous laugh, rays shrinking slightly into his head. You don't think too hard about it. After all, why would a little bit of ketchup matter? But something about it puzzles you. The two of you sit there for a while, discussing music and favorite songs, while occasionally switching up the vinyl in the record player and changing the colors and patterns of the disco lights shining onto the rink. Unbeknownst to Sun, your music questions have an ulterior motive. You intend to find out more of his favorites, so that you can put them on a mixtape you're making for him at home as a surprise gift. As Sun continues counting up another of his favorites, someone screams from the dance floor. Turning towards the rink, a teenage girl stands covered in chocolate milkshake, in front of a younger brunette boy standing with a suspiciously empty milkshake cup. You accidentally turn off the music with a record scratching noise as you turn to see Sun head out the door. The floor guard is on the scene of the crime in seconds, grabbing the kid by the scruff of his dark blue t-shirt with a dark look on his faceplate. You rush over to the poor girl with your arms full of napkins as she angrily blames the boy for colliding with her before she accepts them with a thankful look. Rule breaker, rule breaker! No food or drink is allowed on the roller rink! Sun scolds the child as he holds him hanging in the air at arm's length. The boy seems largely unfazed by the reprimanding, even as Sun grabs his empty cup from him and tosses it in a nearby trash can. Gregory, where are your parents? Sun asks, but the kid doesn't verbally answer, merely making faces at him in response, pulling down one of his lower eyelids and sticking out his tongue. Sun sighs and face palms as his patience runs out. The kid is familiar to any employee at the roller rink. It's not the first time Gregory is causing trouble at Party Planet. It's not even the first time today. You're going to sit in here and think about what you've done, Sun decides, carrying the troublemaker off towards what the two of you have dubbed as jail. In reality, it's much less of a prison cell and more of a closed-off diner booth within sight of the rentals desk. You can practically see the gears turn in the boy's head when he takes out a small item from the pocket of his pants. One of those electric shock handshake prank gadgets you recognize it as, having seen it in one of the capsule toy machines by the entrance before. Sun is too busy fuming over the breach of regulations to see it coming as Gregory presses the device to one of his rays as an experiment. The robot's rays instantly began to malfunction, retracting in an irregular pattern as he glitches with a twitch, dropping the kid as he does. The kid lands on his feet, taking off in a running sprint towards the arcade. Sun quickly recovers, rubbing at his rays as though they were sore as he follows Gregory with his narrowed eyes. A deeply displeased expression finds its way onto his normally cheerful faceplate. "That's it! Moon!" Sun's hands clench into fists, and he stomps once and yells for his counterpart. The janitor appears as if summoned, popping out from behind a wall at the entrance to the arcade, jump-scaring Gregory with his Polaroid camera. The bright flash stuns the kid, and while the picture is printing, Moon grabs him and drags him to the entrance. "Consider yourself banned from Party Planet again," Sun says, slamming the door in front of the kid's face after Moon finishes putting him outside. As Sun dusts off his hands, the picture of the kid, sporting a terrified grimace, has finished printing. Moon unceremoniously adds it to his banned board on the side of his cleaning cart. This isn't Gregory's first mugshot on the board, and likely not his last. Taking out a marker, Moon scrawls something underneath the image. You're too far away to see what, but judging from previous entries on the board, it's likely today's date, along with the reason for the ban. Putting the cap back on and pocketing the pen, Moon heads to the roller rink to mop up the remains of the milkshake-covered crime scene. Outside, you see Gregory leave on his bike with an annoyed look. He'll be back tomorrow, most likely. Seeing the kid who wronged her get banned, the teenage girl's mood is much improved. After giving her a change of clothes from the sets you have available to borrow to guests, she disappears in the direction of the bathrooms. The mood in the establishment slowly settles down as skaters return to the rink and you head back to the DJ booth to start the music again. As the sky darkens outside in an orange-purple gradient, the opening hours of Party Planet are almost over. Only a few skaters are still circling the rink, and a friend group sits in one of the diner booths by the windows, making plans for the upcoming fall break. Judging by the occasional chiptune sound effects emitting from the arcade, someone is still trying to break a record on Donkey Kong. You and Sun are currently putting back the skates in the shelves where they belong, making sure to put aside the ones that have sustained damage or gotten food stains on them for repair and cleaning. A chiming sound from the bell by the entrance alerts the two of you of a new arrival. A tall man dressed in a coat and suit enters the building, corners of his mouth angled into a scowl. The owner. "Evening, boss," you greet from behind the rental's desk, offering a smile while subconsciously doubling the speed at which you put away the skates. Sun's rays shrink slightly into his head as he quickly exits the station and approaches the man. "Good evening, Mr. Afton," Sun falters, reaching out his hands to take the man's coat for him. Mr. Afton doesn't pay him any mind as he lets him take the coat, instead running a finger on top of the capsule toy machines by the entrance. Rubbing his fingers together, his scowl deepens into an even more dissatisfied expression. "Tell the janitor to make another round. This place is filthy," he orders before taking off his hat and adding it on top of the coat Sun is already holding. "Of course, sir. I'll do that right away." Sun nods quickly, immediately beginning to walk off into the arcade where Moon is currently, arms still full of clothes. You feel your unease grow as your employer's face turns to you as your friend disappears behind him. Your nails dig into the roller skates in your hands as your grip on them tightens. While Moon makes you uneasy, compared to how you feel in the presence of William Afton, the two of you feel like best friends in comparison. "It's almost closing time. Get this place locked up and leave," he commands coldly, piercing you with his stare. Mr. Afton holds his gaze for a couple more seconds, expression unreadable, before turning on his heel and heading towards his office in the back. You let go of a breath you didn't know you were holding as he leaves, leaning against the counter for support. Something about the man sends the back of your mind into a cacophony of ringing alarm bells. Luckily, he's almost never here during opening hours, and when he is, always spends his time in his back office. For some reason, Mr. Afton is very particular about closing time. On multiple occasions, you've been instructed to never stay open past the set hours, and above all, to never stay after closing yourself. Strange, as there's still loads of work to do after closing. Cash registers to be closed, dinner tables to be cleaned and reset. Maybe your boss just doesn't want to pay you overtime, you figure. After all, Sun and Moon are advanced enough to be able to handle that on their own. Probably even the staff bots. The only reason this place needs a human employee during daytime is to fulfill the minimum requirement stated by law. As you go around, reminding all of the remaining guests that you are closing in 5 minutes, Sun returns. His arms are now empty of Mr. Afton's belongings, likely having deposited them in the owner's office in the back. Sun fiddles nervously with his hands and eyes the clock mounted on the wall by the entrance, but says nothing. The two of you serve the last customers, handing back their skates, wishing them a good evening as they pack up and leave. When the last guests exit the building, the time is 2 minutes to closing. Friend! It's getting late. Sun begins, still glancing at the clock every time the hand signifying seconds marches onward with a slight click. He dons an apologetic look as he begins to lightly push you out of the rental station. Grabbing onto your shoulders, he doubles down and pushes you more determinedly in the direction of the guest entrance. Hey, wait, I need to get my... You try to plant your feet to resist as he does, but it's futile against his strength. Soon, you're left outside the entrance as Sun quickly closes the door behind you. See you tomorrow, friend! He waves with forced cheer as he locks the door and turns the "We're open" sign around to "Sorry, we're closed." You stand dumbfounded in the cold autumn air, staring at the locked door as Sun disappears into the establishment. Inside, the lights turn off one after another. He's always been persistent about you leaving on time, but he's never downright thrown you out like a banned guest before. You chalk it up to him having had a stressful day, but you can't let this slide. Your things are still inside your employee locker, and you're not going to ride your Vespa home without them. Sun, come back! I still need to get my helmet! You call, knocking irritatedly on the glass of the door. Not getting a response, you knock harder, but still to no avail. Sighing, you cross your arms and take a seat on the sidewalk leading to the guest parking lot. Why couldn't Sun have just spared you a minute to go get your helmet? You weigh your options as the cold starts seeping through your thin jacket. Grabbing the headset of your Walkman, you put it on and let the tunes distract you from the temperature while you think. At least 3 songs pass, and you shudder when the breeze begins to pick up. Someone tapping on your shoulder from behind startles you, and you throw your headset off, music continuing to play faintly. Moon stands there, backlit from the streetlight shining overhead, holding your helmet out towards you. His expression seems different than usual. Softer, somehow, though not exactly smiling. Oh, thanks, Moon. You take the helmet into your hands, staring at it in surprise, and then up at him. He seems to shrink backwards a bit from your stare, looking to the side and tugging at the brim of his hat. Go home, Moon mutters in his raspy voice, frowning and walking back to the entrance. Putting his hand on the handle, he hesitates a bit before opening the door, but eventually steps inside and locks it again. You stare as he, too, disappears into the establishment, like Sun did before. Then, you finally head home.